Hey there gang, what's happening and welcome back to our channel. This news will amaze you. You might have heard of the name Airbnb, but there's more to tell you. Here's how Airbnb will help the real estate crash and how to profit from it. Number 4. Services. Many travelers are turning to peer-to-peer short-term rental services like Airbnb as an alternative. Some tourists want to feel at home when they're away from home. Others are seeking lodging that can accommodate big parties in one location. Many people prefer short-term peer-to-peer rentals to traditional hotel rooms because they're less expensive. If you're considering joining the trend and leasing out a room, there are a few things that you should consider first. Here's how to list Airbnb in the simplest way possible. Firstly, determine when and how much to charge for your space. It's free to list, and you may accept or reject potential visitors at your leisure. Consider the going rate in your region by looking at rival listings before deciding on the pricing. Cleaning, higher electricity bills, taxes, and Airbnb's host fee, which is 3% for payment processing, are all things to consider while hosting. Airbnb charges a 6 to 12% booking fee to your visitors. Make sure you're familiar with Airbnb's hosting guidelines for listing accuracy, guest communication, meeting reservation obligations, cleaning your space for each visitor, and offering necessities like soap and toilet paper. When it comes to laws and taxes, you may need to obtain authorization before advertising your property on Airbnb. Check the regulations of the Homeowners Association or co-op that governs your property to be sure you're permitted to host. If you rent, you'll need your landlord's permission. Airbnb recommends including a rider in your contract with any of these companies that expressly address Airbnb hosting. Furthermore, your municipality may require a business license, and any revenue you generate may be subject to local taxes. You may be required to pay a transitory occupancy tax, which is the same tax that applies to hotels. This fee is generally carried on to hotel customers. You may recall that the last time you stayed somewhere, a 12% surcharge was applied to your bill. Many cities' rules may be found on Airbnb's website. On Airbnb revenue, you'll owe federal taxes, which will be disclosed to you and the IRS on Form 1099. However, by deducting business expenditures like cleaning fees and insurance, you may be able to minimize your taxable Airbnb revenue. Number 3. Offerings. Airbnb also offers host safety recommendations to help them make their properties safer. It includes the chances of being sued by a visitor who is hurt on your property. Guests may also give you lower ratings if you don't take basic safety precautions like installing smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. It also includes removing or pointing out any trip or fall risks. If you've been extremely sloppy, Airbnb may refuse to allow you to continue hosting. Let's speak about insurance while we're on the subject of responsibility. Airbnb is present in almost 29 countries. It includes countries such as the US, UK, and Canada. Moreover, the owners of Airbnb have given a guarantee to give $1 million. This is given in a case where there's a property damage. Although it doesn't take responsibility for theft, which makes sense, it provides a lot of other schemes of insurance. Airbnb provides liability insurance to hosts in the United States. It covers up to $1 million per event and is secondary to any other insurance that could cover the incident, such as your homeowner's policy or your landlord's policy. Number 2. Examples. John Wheatley acquired a $40,000 condominium in Las Vegas in 2012, intending to rent it out on Airbnb. I was astonished by how inexpensive real estate was in Las Vegas, recalls Wheatley, who was born in the United Kingdom. I didn't want to live in Vegas, and I didn't want to spend much time here. As a result, when I looked at Airbnb, it almost seemed too wonderful to be true. Wheatley compared the prices of similar flats on Airbnb and determined that the unit might cover its costs. He purchased the apartment and invested $10,000 in furniture and repairs over 3 weeks. He claims that after a year of remotely renting out the flat, he had generated a profit of $13,000. When we ask if he thinks it's a good idea, he says, definitely 100%. The model appears to be effective. Wheatley is one of a slew of new investors trying to profit from Airbnb's popularity. Residential real estate is a hot commodity these days, with house prices and pricing returning to levels seen before the housing crisis. The shift toward residential investments by private investors is something we've seen personally at Realty Shares as a major real estate crowdfunding platform. Number 1. Investors. In just 8 years, the business of Airbnb has grown a lot. It has made around $25 billion, and that's a huge amount. What it does is it gives a spare bedroom to the business owners. It also gives out its flat on rent to the tourists. Brian Chesky, the co-founder of Airbnb, frequently discusses how anybody can transform unused space in their house into an asset that helps them pay their rent. However, the profitability of short-term rental sites is complicated. People who do not reside in the house or apartment that they rent out may be interested in Airbnb and VRBO. Wheatley and other doers, as well as professional real estate investors, fall under this category. While we don't presently feature Airbnb assets on our platform, we realize there's a significant amount of interest in the industry. If this trend continues, we believe it will herald the emergence of a whole new type of real estate investing. From the perspective of an investor, Airbnb's participation in the real estate investing environment provides advantages. Rental rates are expected to begin to decline later this year, according to Zillow, although demand for rental homes remains robust. Airbnb may open a door to a continuous stream of income for an investor with a rental home in a market where rental properties are scarce. This new development, however, has not elicited a favorable response from all quarters. We all know the problems of housing in cities like New York. It's seen as a scarce resource there, and it's also politicized on a large scale. Moreover, the habit and routine of the property owners renting out the flats have sparked protests, critical press, and the attestation of the regulators and lawmakers. For investors, the economic advantage of an Airbnb home is obvious. They can generate more cash from short-term rentals for the obvious reason that you spend more on accommodation than rent when traveling. So how many expert real estate investors use Airbnb to rent out their properties? What is the size of their companies? The best method to determine whether professional investors are flocking to Airbnb is to look at how many hosts rent out several properties on the platform. After all, most people don't own a lot of houses. That type of information is difficult to come by. The presence of experts has sparked debate, prompting Airbnb to be careful about the information it publishes. However, the number can easily be calculated of how many investment managers used Airbnb in New York City. There was a detailed report issued by the New York attorney in the year 2014. The report was made after collecting 4 years of archival data. It showed that 94% of Airbnb owners in New York City rented out 2 or less than 2 apartments according to the survey. This backs up Airbnb's claim that most of the customers are regular people who rent out their homes. The remaining percentage of hosts, on the other hand, reported anything from 3 to 270 units. They made a total of around $165 million and accounted for more than a third of all bookings and income in the city. More than 100 users possess 10 or more properties. As a result, large multi-million-dollar real estate companies, at least in New York City, use Airbnb. If any of you guys out there watching this video wish to get in on this racket, then do let me know in the comments down below, and I'll catch you guys later in another video. Bye now!